attached here. Why do they always want to jump in your lap when you start a meeting? Okay, so this is officially starting off. I'm going to mute everybody, and those of you who should be unmuted, we'll hold the questions to the end. We're going to go through just an introduction and sort of run through some questions to get to know Tiago, Ernesto a little better. And then if we have time and we have some good questions at the end, we will continue the conversation. And if he is, you know, able to stay with us a little longer, we may open it up for some interaction with all these people. We've got a lot of people here. So I'm going to introduce or hand it over to Tiago. You can introduce yourself, give us a little, just say hi to everybody, and then I'll start in with our question.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to be here with all of us. My name is Tiago Ernesto. I'm from Portugal. I have lived in the United States since 2010. I work on a big breeding farm in Texas for about 12 years, and then I started my own company and I moved to Florida. That's where I have been in the past 3 years. I did a lot of work in equitation in the States. I did not did any work in equitation in Portugal, even though I was very familiar. My trainer was part of the first European Championships team for Portugal. That was the first ever. And so I was always very close to that, but I didn't got to compete there. And then when I came here, I started competing, work in equitation and dressage that I had done in Portugal as well. And that's what I'm doing right now. Working equitation was a bit put aside, competition speaking for me when I came to Florida. And then all this interest on working equitation rised up very quickly. And that's why we are here tonight. Okay.
Great. So I want to go back a little further into your Portuguese roots. And many people may or may not be familiar with the school, the Alto Real National Stud that you started your career at. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and how it has shaped you and things that you may still use today from that experience?
Yes, so I went and did my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade on that school that is based inside Alter Real Stud Farm. So we have many horses from them to ride. We have our own teachers, and that's where we learn everything about the horses, you know, a little bit of farrier stuff, quite a bit of vet work, you know, organizing everything and anything that is horse related, since, you know, from a breeding farm all the way to events. And so that's like a big background. It gives you tons of experience. You know, as much as you want to learn is as much as you're going to get the chance to learn, because there are way too many horses, way too many opportunities. So it's really, as much as you want to do, you're always going to be busy in that school. And that, you know, that's the best background you can have in regards of opportunities, because you get to experience almost everything many times in a row. So you get to make mistakes like all young professionals do, and you learn from your mistakes as well as learning from your teachers and coaches.
Yeah, it sounds like something we are sorely missing here in the U.S. an academy.
Yes.
Your work at Haras in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You were there for 12 years and you managed more than 100 horses. That's a lot. It's a big breeding farm.
Yep.
How did that experience change the way you train horses and riders?
So that was just a following up what I was doing in Portugal already. I worked in 2 or 3 different breeding farms, and then I was invited to come to the States when the owner of Haras was moving his whole operation from Mexico to Texas. It was a very nice experience once again, because as many horses you get a chance to work with, it's as best you become, you know. Yes, we need good coaches, we need good trainers, we need, you know, good people around us, but we also need horses, you know, and that's very much needed. You need to try with the horses, you need to learn from them, You need to learn to a certain point where you can then become able to learn from them, and they become your everyday teacher, and they're the best teacher ever. You just have to get to the point where you can learn from them.
You've competed and qualified horses in working equitation at master's level. What does working equitation dressage ask from the horse and rider that competitive dressage does not?
Well, that is a very broad question because it all depends on the level. If we go straight to the master's levels, that I was fortunate enough to have 3 horses in that level at the same time, then it's a completely different thing. It's kind of like a freestyle test on the regular dressage, because you do get to choose the movements and the order to perform them. The order not so much, because you do have to follow a certain order, but then you get to choose where to place them and how to place them to better, use your horse and to better present your horse. So even though the bases are the same and they should be the same and they should remain the same, those two things go together. It's completely different. You have way more opportunities to present your horse the best, opposed to a regular Grand Prix dressage test. Okay. Then if we go down the levels that I also showed, a lot of different horses, from, well, I don't think I did intro as well. Yes, I did all the different levels. The tests were different than they are nowadays, and everything was just starting in the States back then. But it's a great experience, because the tests were well taught, and so they are there for a good and easy experience. Usually they are much easier than the regular dressage test, or they were, at least. I'm not 100% familiar with the tests nowadays that they are performing, but back then they were just easygoing tests. So they made a lot of sense for the young horses, and there was a good experience for them.
I had a later question that I think I'll tack on to this, and that was the big difference of riding with one hand.
So in regular dressage, too many big trainer names say, so that is dressage, and then there is Grand Prix. Okay. Almost everything that you learn up to the Grand Prix level, it doesn't really work that way when you get to the Grand Prix level. Okay. So riding with one hand, it's pretty much the same. You learn everything, you do everything up to the one hand. And then when you get to ride one hand, you think, well, that doesn't really work. And that doesn't really make sense. So it's not that it's wrong. It's a learning curve. Okay. So we hear all these things, and today it's not so specific about that, but we hear all these old methods that, majority of them are still alive and healthy, like inside leg, outside rein, this, that, outside aids, diagonal aids, inside aids, all of those different things. And those are all correct, okay? But then when you start writing with one hand, first, majority of us are not used to it. So we have to learn how to use inside rein, outside rein, and not just pull on the reins, okay? Those are 3 different things. And then the horse also needs to get used to that. Okay. There is a little bit of neck rein. There is a little bit of, outside rein against the neck. There is a little bit of inside rein against the neck. And there is release. There is both hands, both reins working in the same time. So everything it's usable. But the difficulty is to control with just one hand. Okay. So there is an introduction, you ride with 2 hands on one hand, and then the third rein on your right rein, on your right hand, if you're Portuguese or Spanish. I know Americans usually ride off the left, off the right, so they will have the third rein on their left hands. So there is a process to get there, and it is very important to follow that process. Otherwise, something that is already hard becomes pretty much impossible to control once you start thinking about speed and this and that and loud music and heavy crowded environments, horses get very excited. And then the easiest thing is just take your second hand and just go grab the hand and the reins. And then if you do that, you are disqualified. So that is a process, just like learning how to ride. That is a process to learn how to ride properly with one hand. And just to finish that answer, um, majority of the cowboys ride one hand, yes, but can they do the exercises that we need to do for the dressage test? That's a different thing. So it's not just riding with one hand, it's riding with one hand, keeping the horse in a certain frame, and being able to bend when we need to bend, straight when we need to straight, and do all of those different things. So yes, it's a very important phase that horses, riders, coaches must know how to get there.
That was great. Okay, so you've said that training is not only an art, but also an active intelligence. When you teach a student, what does this mean in a simple, practical way?
Well, it means that you cannot follow the book, because first of all, horses do not read books, and they all come with different ideas and different interpretations of your own ideas. So yes, the book is where the art is written, and you must study, you must be aware of, but then you must be very intelligent and very quick interpreting the situation. And sometimes you're going to be right, sometimes you're going to be wrong. None of us is always right, and hopefully none of us is always wrong as well. So we have to be quick, we have to develop a good eye and try to understand if it is a rider's issue, if it's a horse issue, if it's both of them. Are they not understanding? Are they not helping each other? And that's where you must become very quick and very good interpreting the situation, to quickly turn around and use a different page of that same book that we first refer as art. So yes, both things are very important for me. And on the quick and short way to reply to that, you cannot, in my opinion, be smart, intelligent if you don't have the knowledge. And just having the knowledge and not the experience, it's not ideal for me either.
To take one step back to the riding one-handed, we had a question. At what level do you ride one-handed? And I don't know if you know the answer in the U.S., but the U.S. working equitation, it's master's level 7.
Yes.
You ride, no, that's not correct. You ride one-handed at level 6.
In the United States,
Yeah.
it's the highest level that at least you used to ride with one hand, plus the international level.
Correct. So level 6 and level 7 now is the international level.
Okay.
So
Okay.
L1 through L5, you can use 2 hands, and L6 and L7, it's 1 hand.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In your opinion, what is the biggest problem you see in how working equitation is taught right now in the United States? And you can answer this in any way you want, because there's a lot of ways to answer that question, and we're not afraid of criticism, so go for it. Constructive, of course.
I think it's not really a problem that I see. It's a normal growing curve. It's missing knowledge, and it's very easy to explain. If it's a new sport, how are you supposed to know? If it's so new. It's new all over the world. Let's be honest, but it's also very, very much newer here in the States. And I understand the business is demanding more and more and more. So people just learn a little bit, just interpret things best they can, and they start teaching. So can we call that a problem? Well, eventually, if those same people do not want to learn, yes, then it will be a problem. But if the mindset is open, and if you want to learn about it, and if you want to become better, I don't see that as a problem. I see that as a huge benefit, because the biggest the business, the biggest opportunity for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the first Train the Trainers group, what personal qualities are you looking for in a trainer that are not about riding skills?
Well, I think I already answered that question on the past two questions. I think you must be open-minded. You know, I don't think if you come with the mindset of, oh, I have done dressage or whatever other sport for 30 years, so I know everything. Well, that's probably right, but not about this sport. And this sport, yes, it gets to grab a lot from different sports, mainly dressage, but it is his own sport as well. So, so the open mindset, being there to learn and interpret what you're going to be presented to, in the way that makes sense for you, because our interpretation is going to be different, and everyone has a different interpretation. So that's a big, not just quality, that's a big requirement that is needed, anytime we get introduced to anything new.
Yeah.
uh, then other than that is not writing qualities. Well, the writing qualities is actually what we can do, but not what we have done. And the most experience you can bring up to the table, the better. Because again, it's not just having those 30 years and coming with a mindset of like, I know everything, I don't have much to learn. It is, I have all these 30 years that I have to join and interpretate on this sport. So it's kind of the same thing, but I look at it as two different things. It's your background, your baggage, plus your open mindset. Even though I don't think anyone is going to go there with the mindset of not wanting to learn, otherwise they wouldn't be there.
That's right.
Yeah.
How does your dressage background change the way you teach working equitation, or does it? And why is that dressage base important for this program?
Well, I think it changes a lot because even dressage it's a bit harder than working equitation, but pretty much anything and everything on horses, in my opinion, can be teach and taught as tricks. Okay, flying change can be a trick. Dressage PF can be a trick. So pretty much anything can be a trick. That's why old trainers back in the days used to say, I don't need to see the tricks to tell you if the horse is well trained or not. I need arena figures to be able to tell if the horse is well trained or not. And arena figures are just circles, serpentines, straight lines, different sizes of circles. And so that answers the first part, saying that dressage is very needed, okay? Because you must be able to bring the best lead, but the best athlete possible into the arena, speaking about your horse. And that's what dressage does for any sport, show jumping or any other thing. So that's very, very important. And remind me of the second question that was related with this one. How does it change
Why is that important for this program?
So I think it's very important for the same reason. I would like to see people coming out of this series of clinics with a clear view why we do these things and why do we do it like that, follow these steps. So we're not just teaching the tricks. It's not just going around the barrels, once to the right, halfway to the left, and then one more to the right. Those are three very tight circles with flying lead changes in between. So yes, you can still teach as a trick. There are plenty of people that does that. Is that the right approach for me? No, it is not the right approach for me. So that's why I think dressage is very important, and that's why I think the dressage background into this program is very important. So you really learn how to shape your horse, how to put his body in the right spot, so he can offer you what you're looking for or what you're asking.
You are based at Elite Horse Academy in Wellington, Florida. How does working in Wellington, that's a special place, influence your ideas about rider and trainer education in the United States?
I think being here gave me the chance to work with much higher level of riders, okay, opposed to the other places that I have travel and teach. You tend to teach lower level dressage riders, and that restricts your teaching quite a lot, okay? Because you have to stay on the basis very often. Then once in a while, someone has a higher level horse and you get to do more things. Or you work, like I have a group of people that I have been working with in Texas since I got to Texas, and now I left Texas, but I still go back, once a month and work with them. And so these are people that I have been working for 10 plus years. And so the level had grown a lot, and we understand each other, we know each other, we have, each one of us have different expectations, but we want to get somewhere, that is a, a clear understanding on both parties, what we want from each other. Being here, it can void a little bit of that, because some of the riders that I have a chance to work here, uh, they're Grand Prix international riders. So I'm not going to teach them how to ride. They know how to ride. Okay, so I get a chance to skip that part, and I get a chance to actually enjoy the rest. That is, okay, just go and do these obstacles. And the question is always, how do I do that? Because again, they don't know. They have seen, watch a few videos, but they don't know more than that. So I teach them the pattern, and that's pretty much all I do for the first 5 seconds. Okay, you go like this, you turn around, you come back, you do this, you do that, and I don't say anything because I don't have to say anything. Once they finish that first approach, they look at me and they start laughing and say, "Oh, I just realized my horse doesn't actually do this quite right, or doesn't do that quite right." And I said, "That's great. That's the reason why I have started introducing these cross training working equitation clinics. It's just to make a horse a better horse and a trainer a better trainer, because we do get stuck on 20-meter circles or 10-meter circles or this or that, and we don't really get out of the sandbox. And you know we come to my backyard. I have a huge grass field, and that's a new environment. Horses start looking at things because it's not a rectangular, it's not a sandbox. They're not used to that. There are trees, there are shades. So that, for a regular dressage horse, it's already a lot. They think that, like, well, I cannot handle that. And then we start making it fun. Just go around this, go around that, and then the horses start going better and better, and following the environment that is usually very relaxed. And the riders, again, since they know exactly what they want, they start realizing that, well, I can do that. If the ladder is not here to guide me, or if the horse gets a bit distracted, then I struggle. So I don't really have to do much more than just create the proper situation for them to realize where and what they need to go back home and work on. You know. So
That's very cool.
it's a very neat place to be.
See a question pop up. Is that related to this topic?
I didn't got a chance to read it all, but I think so.
I know. Well, Nancy, she'll save us.
Let me see. At what dressage level and age would you like to? Will a young horse have to achieve before starting working equitation? I don't know if there's an age.
It all depends on what you want for your horse. If it's exposure, if it's if it's not competition related, that is not really age. And then if it's competition driven, it is just like dressage. Every age has its own level, and you work according to that.
And is there a dressage level as well? Does it help you to be at a certain level in dressage in order to do working equitation?
It definitely does, because even though the majority of the people think for working equitation speaking, think that if we do 10 simple changes is easier than do 10 flying changes. It is not. And the horses learn that you have to walk and canter and walk and canter. And during an obstacle course, there are too many walk, canter walks, and the horses get tired of that. So if the horse is doing third level, with a clean change each side, it becomes much, much easier, much, much easier. It doesn't mean that you can't play with obstacles before that, at a trot, sometimes even at the walk, but the flying lead change is a huge help for sure.
Okay, in the US, sometimes instructors teach rules that are not correct for our USA tests. How do you teach correct rules, especially for intro and novice levels, and how will this be part of our program? Because we're going to have a lot of instructors teaching the lower levels.
Yes, so I have a bit of two different answers for that question. I'm going to start with the easiest one. So on my side, on our training program, I am going to study the rules. 100% honest. I'm going to do it. I have to do it. And then following up with that, as a competitor, as a coach, as a trainer, you must know the rules. Okay. I understand some foreigner colleagues come and they're not really teaching the level. They're teaching working equitation. Okay. How to do the obstacles, how to do this, how to do that. And they're not aware majority of the times that, the levels are not the same. The rules change with the levels. So I can't blame them, especially because the United States have updated the rule book so many times. I don't blame them. I understand, but it is everyone's job to know the rules and interpret what you are learning and what you're being taught in regards to the rules that you have to follow. It's kind of like driving. When we go to learn how to drive, we also are in charge to learn the rules. And then we have to follow different speed limits, right? Florida has some, California has some, Texas have different speed rules. And so we must do our job. We must do the homework. We can't just blame on trainers saying, oh, he said, well, it is probably right, but you are the competitor. So as a competitor, you must know the rules, and you must bring that up to the table too. Because if I say, okay, let's do it like this, and that is also a very important point that I was not considering. That is, majority of the times, what we train, it's the way to get there. It's not how it's supposed to be shown. It's where you are at the moment and the process that you need to follow until you get there. Okay. I'm going to give a very good example. I hope a very easy to understand example. None of us start piaffing with a horse standing still. We start with half steps. Well, half steps have nothing to do with piaff. Okay. So that's it's a very, I hope, a very good comparison, because majority of us, when we train, when we teach to make you better. Unless you are already there and we're just fine tuning some things, we teach you, we show you the way to get better. And so sometimes we're not even thinking about the show day, because a clinic, unless it's specifically to be prepared for a show, we can't just work thinking about the show. We have to work thinking about how to improve this combination. What does the rider need? What does the horse need, in order to, in months or years or days, be able to show the horse the way the rules has, the way the judge wants to look at it.
Very good. When the first Florida graduate instructors finish the program, what new things do you want them to be able to do that they usually can't do in the beginning? What skill set do we want to see them come away with?
More than a skill set, I want to see them sure about what they need and should be doing. Okay. I'm hopeful that they will have many, many new tools to use to fix different and usual problems that happens when we start introducing the horses to the obstacles. Um, and and uh, and just secure that they have a route that they know that they should follow, but also that we have came up with the community that we have no problems calling each other and saying, hey, I have this problem today. How do you address this? Or have you had this problem? How would you do it? Because that's how it should be, you know?
Community, yeah. So this program is about 18 months long. If you divide that into 2 or 3 clear stages, what would those stages be, and what's the goal of each stage?
I think the stages are clear in my head. The first is truly the introduction stage, that you become aware of what working equitation is. Okay, uh, and then the second stage is the transition between becoming aware to becoming confident on analyzing and interpreting and recognizing what to do, when to do, the best exercise or obstacle to choose in different occasions to help the riders become better in different occasions. And then the third one is coming up with a plan. I would like at the end um, to co-train. Let's put it like that. Okay, we have a rider, and we have 2 or 3 students by my side, and we should have this experience. Okay, what would you do here? And with the tools that we have on working equitation, is okay, I would go here or there, because we will find 2 or 3, if not more, different routes to achieve the same. And then the exchange of ideas is what makes this better and makes this actually great, because we all have different ideas, probably all would get to the same point, but some are going to be quicker than others, or some are going to be easier to understand for the rider. And that's a very important point, because sometimes I know exactly how to get there, I just don't, my rider does not understand. So I have to turn around and find a different way to tell him, okay, forget what I just said. Let's try this. Kind of the example that I just heard in the States. I had never heard that before. We always say heels down in Portugal, and you hear that for years in the beginning. And in the States, I heard toes up. And first time I heard toes up, I said like, what? And I said, oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. It's exactly the same thing. Heels down, toes up. It's exactly the same thing. It makes more sense sometimes for other people. So here it's about the same. Sometimes 2 or 3 different ideas mean exactly the same, but one rings the bell, and that's the trainer also become aware, confident, and quick enough to realize my student's not getting what I want. Let me try something different.
And in each stage, what type of learning do you think, what types of learning do you think are important? Like lessons with you personally in Wellington, or lessons at their home? Should online meetings be helpful? Self-study?
I think
Probably all of the above, or
all of the above are important and eventually needed, depending on different people and courses and stages and stuff like that. I think the online lessons are a great tool, because that makes a lot of things possible that unless they weren't possible. I am a big believer on trying. I cannot really, for myself, it doesn't really work to teach something that I haven't done, teach something that I haven't experienced. I'm not saying that you must do master's level in order to train, because there are ways, and the judges are approve of that. There are ways to learn how to do something that you haven't done. Um, but for me, it's I relate much more with the DIY type of project. You do it, you try it, and then you come up with questions, you come up with different feelings. And of course, all of the things that I have been saying for the last half an hour or so, the horse is the priority. Yes, we're mainly talking about people, but the horse speaks the loudest. The horse is the most important at all times. So again, and I started this meeting saying that the horses are the greatest teachers. We just have to get to the point where we can start learning from them. And if they're if they're yelling something, we must be able to listen to them. Sometimes they don't yell, sometimes they're very quiet. And that's what makes the difference between a good trainer, a good coach, a good rider, and other people. It's listening before they even express something. Um, if that answers your question.
I think that hits the nail on the head. I have a couple of other questions here that I think we've already covered, so I'm going to go to one of the last couple of ones. This is kind of a scenario. Imagine one participant in our Train the Trainers program is a strong rider, but a weak teacher, and another is a strong teacher, but a weaker rider. How can we help both of them reach the same instructor standard at the end of 18 months?
Well, how can we help? It's quite hard to answer, but it is definitely possible. And the way I see that, and that's actually happens often, um, is the reasons behind why you are weak on each and every way. Are you weak teaching because you're just afraid to say something, that people is going to misinterpret? Are you weak because you don't like to expose yourself in front of 10 people? Are you a weak rider because back in the day you had a fall and then you became afraid and now you call yourself a weak rider? So it all depends, and it's very important to understand the reasons behind that, to be able to help the person become basically a better speaker or a better rider or a more confident rider. Then learning those reasons behind, you come up with individual training methods for them. Then on the easy and a little funny way to say this, you cannot become a better writer if you never write, and you cannot become a better teacher if you never teach. So again, we have to understand the background, and then we have to create enough situations for both sides until they can, from the ground, interpretate the rider and interpretate the horse and be able to express and think in this way. And I say this both ways. Um, I, s- I tell my students, my riders, I think that you are on the ground. And if you were here beside me in the same time that you are on top of your horse, what would you like to see? Okay. So I make them think that way. And then when I'm teaching and I have someone beside me that want to learn what I'm teaching, I always tell them, like, if you were on the horse, what would you do? Okay. And so that kind of answers both sides of the questions, because when you are on top of the horse, you must be able to step down and look it from the ground and say, okay, I would like to see this. And then while on top, be able to do it, find a way there. And the opposite as well, when you are riding, you should be, or I'm sorry, when you're on the ground teaching, you should be like, okay, if I was on the horse, what would I do to change that? And that was something that I learned in the States. I taught very minimal lessons in Portugal. I was very, very young when I first came here. And because of working in equitation, I started teaching clinics. And my English was terrible, very, very bad in the beginning. Um, and then, I was exposed to a group of 10 riders. And I thought, wow, what am I going to do with this? Like, I have no idea. So I had to overcome all those things, and I had great help from different people. Some people that spoke Spanish that helped me, translating things that I want to say that you were majority of them inaccurate and not on time at all. And like, I want to say shoulder in, and I said hunches in. I want to say this, and I said that. So a lot of different mistakes happen, and luckily, I was very, very fortunate to work with a very nice group of people, and they would understand and they would help me out. And so you do also need that. You need to present yourself at the right moment with the right group of people. Either as a rider or as a trainer. So that helps you a lot overcoming your problems per se, your weakness areas.
I'm going to hold that question there for the very last one. So I'm going to ask this. This is a fun question. What things do you keep? What things do you do to keep it fun for both horse and rider as you train and compete? Or is it all work?
It's kind of all work, but
Yeah.
the way I find it to keep it funny is I always try to present the problems that I see in the way that the horse and the rider start talking to each other. So I became just eyes on the ground. I see majority of the times I see the problem. I have an idea how to fix it. So I come up with an exercise that will present itself and hopefully fix the problem, that I could just be watching and letting both of them figuring things out. And then, step in as needed and say, okay, try this instead, or try that. Sometimes doesn't work. And so we have to change the plan. I don't really like, and I was never used to having someone always on my ear saying exactly what I need to do every second of the way. So I became that teacher and trainer as well. I give them my interpretation. I tell them this is what I see and this is what I would like to see. And then I again find a few exercises and just let things work themselves out. And I think for the riders that's very important, because first they keeps the confidence level up and growing, because you always feel like you are in control. Even though it always feels good to have someone on your ear. I can tell you that from my own experience, but it gives you that confidence that, like, okay, I know exactly what to do. Again, that feeling may last 10 minutes, but it's a good feeling while it lasts. And also it keeps it fun, because if you're not quite there, or if you're not there often enough in regards to talking to your horse or listening your horse, the way I try to present the solutions, it's always, making that bond bigger and stronger. So I think, at least I want to believe, that makes it fun, because you really start learning and interpreting all the horse reactions. And I think that's much nicer, just hearing someone yelling at your ear, like, let go of your rein, or pull another one, or do
Yeah.
this or do that. Yeah.
So we have one question here. How and this is a good segue, actually, and we're right at 45 minutes in here, so perfect timing. If any of you, if we have a few more minutes, would like to unmute yourself to ask a question, just kind of raise your hand or let us know. The question is, how will you assess who will be accepted into the 18-month program? What background and criteria is used?
Well, I think we have to keep in mind that these training sections, these clinics, it's the same mindset of the master class. We need guinea pigs, basically, so we can develop each and every level of it. So we're not going to pick the best riders. I'm not going to pick the worst riders. There is a selection that will be put out, so it's clear for everyone exactly what we're looking for. And then the videos help a lot, and the background. Again, it's not so much what have you done. It's or it is exactly what have you done, but not so much in regards of achievements. If we have great achievements, great. But if we don't have great achievements, but we do have a lot of experience, like I said, that is the most you can bring in, the easiest it is, not just for me, but also for you and for the overall group. So yes, the background experience is a big thing. And then each and every one is going to be selected to fill in a gap in order to make a whole. Was that clear
Excellent.
enough?
That was PJ. That was yeah. Okay, so do we have any other ad lib questions here at the end, or do you want to add anything, Tiago? Okay, we got questions. PJ has
Go
her
ahead.
hand up. She's full of
Yeah.
questions. Go for
Go
it.
ahead.
Yeah, I'm full of questions. I'm the old lady in the group.
Um,
Probably not.
help me understand a little bit more about, the first thing that came to my mind when I started thinking about getting involved and potentially, coming to the January and looking at potentially, hopefully getting into your program, the trainer program. In order to teach dressage and be a dressage trainer, you just need a dressage arena. In order to teach working equitation, you have to have access to the obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like for the future of someone that goes through your 18-month program and the opportunities, to teach others?
No, I think I understand your question, and one of the things that you're gonna find out during the program is, well, we do kind of like show jumping. If you go see a competition, you see a lot of fancy jumps, right? We don't need those fancy jumps to make a horse jump, or to train a horse to jump, and then turning that specific into working equitation. We can make 90% of the obstacles with cones and balls and very easy things. Are they the same? Do they produce the same impact for the horses? No, of course not. But how serious are you in regards to go show? Do you just want to get the training out of it, or you want to get the desensitization out of it as well? So those are the two different things. And then the third one, there is no other way. I mean, almost no other way. Like, you can't really work and teach a horse to quietly and appropriately towards working equitation to open a gate if you don't have a gate, right? And again, like, I have years of experience with cowboys in Texas. They tell me, they look at me and say, I open 10 gates a day. And I get it. And they do open. Do they open the way the judge want to see? No. And the reason, it's because they don't know that way. No one ever told them that, okay, now this is what I'm looking for. Okay. So for those very specific obstacles, like the gate, like the bridge, the jump, like, you cannot teach a horse to jump if you don't have a jump, right? And then the side pass pulls on the ground. So you do need a couple pulls. And then the belt. Some horses are afraid of the noise. So very specific exercises. Yes, you do need to build, buy, find a resource of obstacles to be able to go fully in. But like I said, the majority of them can be plants, can be cones, can be balls, can be, several different easy to find things.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? I think this has been great, and I think it's a nice, tight hour, and I really appreciate all that you're doing for us, Tiago. I very much look forward to that first clinic in October.
You're very welcome.
I have a feeling we're gonna fill it quickly. As far as the details, on the website, it's live now for any founders are able to make the application. And we have a question pop up. I heard a noise. Oh,
yeah.
PJ.
Sorry, it was me again. It was me again. About the October clinic, is that going to be for more advanced horses, or I have a baby that probably just needs a lot of desensitization and walking around and sniffing things and touching things, and would that be worth my while to bring him? He's a Lusitano baby.
It's like I said, we're gonna have horses and riders for every different level.
Okay.
And I don't want this to sound rude. I think within this conversation, I think it makes sense. If it's just picking by someone else, it may not make sense. But if you can walk, trot, and canter both sides, if you can walk, trot, and canter, steering, stop, then it's worth it. If you're not there, then no, it's not worth it, because it's going to be very complicated on the new environment. But if you are there, then yes, you're gonna get plenty of experience and plenty new things to work with and to work on as well.
Thank you.
So the October clinic is our introduction to the train the trainers. By then, we'll have more details on the overall program. But that first is going to be kind of that is our inaugural time for us all to get together and explore what this program is going to be going forward. Then we'll have a syllabus and a curriculum in writing by then. That will start proper, possibly December, but probably in early 2027. That's what I'm envisioning. What do you think, Tiago?
Yep, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So-
try.
Yeah. Well, and Tiago isn't going to be the only clinician. We will have others throughout the course of years going forward. They'll be handpicked and maybe for specific things. So, but for now, he's got plenty to give us. Silda, you have a question?
Yeah, Celia. Hi. I
Sorry,
apologize.
Celia,
I was a
always
few
use
minutes.
that, Jay.
I was a few minutes late, so you can tell me to watch the recording if that answers my question. How do you decide who rides in the October clinic? Like, you're gonna have multiple people wanting to, they're trainers and they're wanting a certification or whatnot. How do you decide who rides? Like, I'm a little unsure of the setup of the session. Like, are the students also on horseback, or the new trainers, are they on the ground, learning to train, but not necessarily also the rider? Do you understand?
I do understand, yes, and the idea for now it's to have the students on the horse,
Okay.
So you learn with your own experience, basically, and then since it's very much directed to train the trainers, then approaches like, okay, when you have this situation with your student, that's the way to go. It's so basically I'm going to use you as an example. You are going to be your own guinea pig for your students. Okay, your students may not be present there, but I'm going to use that and I'm going to refer to that. Okay, when you have this type of horse, when you have this type of from with your students, this would be my approach. Okay, so you get to feel it, but also to understand how to replicate that eventually.
It's a good question. And we'll have variety. It depends on who we have applying, right? So if you have 20 applicants and we want to fill it with 12 to 15 riders, it's going to be a variety of those. So it just depends on who applies, right? And what choices you have to. If we only have 10, maybe not all 10 are going to work, and we have 8 riders.
Mhm.
If we have 50, you may have a wide variety of things, and then auditors get to come and interact. But I really am excited about that part, so we can ask questions while he's teaching, like, what are you thinking when you see this happen? How do you address this? How do you teach that? It's really geared toward thinking about teaching.
Yeah, that's the masterclass part of it. It's evolving everyone. It's not going to be a one-on-one, because we'll have 2 or 3 different horses working in the same time, just because it's a much easier mindset for the horses, and it gives them time to just to have breaks and think about things. But also, during those breaks, we have a chance to bring in questions and it's not meant to, especially in this first one that is just introduction, is not meant, even though I'm teaching you, yes, but I'm also using you as an example for everyone, the other 2 riders on the ground, I'm sorry, on the horses, but everyone on the ground as well. Everyone is learning from that experience. Again, that's the masterclass setup.
I will say this too, when you fill out the application, there's a question in there. What is it that you would like to learn from this experience? So the opportunity to teach us and to teach Tiago what you want, for him to understand what you want or where the holes are in your program, that's the opportunity to put that in there. So we can bake that in too, because ideas are gold.
Yep.
All right, we've hit exactly 1 hour. Oh, one
Did
more
we see-
question.
Yeah,
Oh,
did you see the
Sandra.
question about auditing. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to go or is someone else
Go.
asking? Oh, I
No,
just
go
have
ahead.
where is this going to be located and does it conflict with the Ibericon event at World Equestrian Center?
It's going to be located in Jacksonville at the Equestrian Center, and it's October 2nd through the 4th. So Ibericon is 2 weeks later.
Okay. Are you going to be at Ibericon, Tiago?
I have been there both last 2 years, and I'm planning on in this year as well. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Hi, guys.
So my
Oh, go
question
ahead.
is, I had typed it out. Is it possible, if we're not there as a participant, can we go and observe and listen to the training?
Yes, there will be interactive auditors. So you'll either have a headset or you'll just be in a panel able to ask the questions directly with Tiago while he's teaching. And then additionally, we'll have, depending on the space, but there they have lots, but this is for any of the clinics. There will be additional auditors that are just watching. So we may also, I liked, Tiago, your idea of someone kind of roving the crowd for questions to be able to pepper those in throughout so that everybody gets a chance to kind of interact a little bit. So it's meant to be a full-throated, you know, more of a symposium and a master's class that continues month after month, quarter after quarter, and we can focus on things, but they all kind of come, you know, stream together.
Thank you.
Alrighty, this is recorded. I am going to, it'll be, the full recording will be in the members hub. So all of our members will have access to the entire thing. Do we have another question or was that a last? And some of the video will be published on our website going forward. So if you really want to rewatch the whole thing, become a member. Shameless plug. And if you want to apply for consideration for this first clinic, it is live on our calendar. The first couple of weeks, it's founders only can apply, but after that, any member. And then August 1st, it'll open up to the general public. So there you go. Thank you, guys. Oh, one more question. One
more.
last one. Kathy. You're muted.
Here.
Can we unmute her?
Unmute. Yeah.
I can't unmute you. You have to do it
No,
for
I
yourself.
can't either. Oh, no, there you
Got
are.
it? Okay.
There. Perfect.
So I went on the website. I just want to audit and I don't see an application or ways to do that on the website.
Not just yet. So
Okay.
that'll come later. I mean, I'd love to take your money now, but
Okay.
I could go ahead and put those up. I've had a lot of people ask me that. I'm like, come on, that's great. Maybe we should just go ahead and sell auditing tickets. That's fine.
So
There'll be plenty of space in Jacksonville. I promise you that. There will be no shortage of auditor spots there.
So would you remind us again of when the rider members can apply for October? You said the founding members get 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So
From
July 15th. July 1st,
Okay.
July today till the 15th is founders. The 16th through the 31st is exclusively for members. And oh, by the way, if you want to be an interactive auditor, I would fill the form out now and pay the $50 for rider application and just say you just want to be an auditor, because that's one way to hold your spot. Those are going to be limited. And they will go first to, let's say we have 20 applications and we pick 15 riders. Those 5 that didn't get picked get first dibs on the auditing, the interactive auditing, because obviously they're the most, you know, I don't want to say most serious, but they're, you know, they get first chance at that. I don't know how many, it depends on how many headsets or how we want to do it. And every single clinic is going to be a little different depending on the location and the audio and all that kind of stuff. So as we get closer to that, those answers we'll publish it. We'll make sure everybody we do regular meetings, by the way, every 2 weeks. So if you are a member, you can get into the hub and see the recordings and all this stuff. It's a lot of information. I know it's like drinking from a fire hydrant, but it'll be repeated over and over so that nobody gets left out. We want to make sure everybody gets to participate. PJ, did you have one more question and put your hand back down, or no?
No, I got it answered. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then with that, thank you very, very much, Tiago. Super appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys all for showing up.
Thank you,
And we'll
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
So much
everybody.
for putting this
In the arena.
on. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.